brother Derek is 22. That is Derek and I. And I'm sorry, but I am also a salesperson and I also talk too much, so I did not keep this very short, but I promise it will be enjoyable. I am very involved with the Down Syndrome Association. I have served on the Young Friends Board for over a year now. Most recently, I actually started my own nonprofit. It's called Festibility. Essentially, it celebrates people of all abilities and all disabilities. If you're familiar with Pride Fest, it's basically the Pride Fest of the disability community. That's actually Derek there in the middle with the microphone at Festibility. And the DSA serves on our Festibility Planning Committee as well, which has gotten me even more involved with this amazing organization. And the Rock 21 bands, which Derek is a part of, also participate in Festibility. And all of these amazing things have come about because I am so blessed to call one truly amazing human as my brother. So we have our big event coming up on July 27th. Come find me afterward if you want to know more about that, but I just had to get my little plug in before I got started sharing with you all of the good stuff that I prepared today. So when Christy first called me to be here this morning, I was really excited because I've always been pretty comfortable talking in front of people, more comfortable than the average person. But I've also always wanted to be able to talk in front of people and use my voice to tell people about Derek and Down syndrome and living with a brother with Down syndrome and to travel and tell our stories to others that need to hear them and need to hear that everything's going to be okay. And now that I'm getting to do it for the first time, to be totally honest with you all, I had a really tough time figuring out what to say. Because my entire life has been shaped by having Derek as my little brother. There are so many different ways that I can tell you our story. And now that I'm but first, what I really wanted to figure out is what's going through all of your heads. So like most times when I don't know what to do next, I called my mom. And I asked her to rewind 22 years and put herself back in your shoes and tell me how she was feeling and what she would need to hear from someone like me all those years ago. And the first thing she told me she wanted to know was that her life was not over. And she told me she wanted to change it. She wanted to take the Down syndrome away. She was terrified. I also talked to Christy, and I asked her the same thing. What do these new moms and families want to know from someone like me? And she told me a lot of the same things also. She said a lot of them are probably still scared. They have a million questions and uncertainties. How is this new baby with Down syndrome going to impact my other children? When do I tell my children they have Down syndrome? And are my other kids going to live normal lives? After kind of gathering all of these initial thoughts of a new family, of a brand new baby with Down syndrome, I wanted to start to ease your fears by sharing with you one of my most cherished memories about Derek and Down syndrome. So as you all know, Down syndrome affects the 21st chromosome. And a year ago, we celebrated Derek's 21st birthday, and we decided we were going to celebrate the best way we knew how, and we planned a trip to Nashville with all of our friends and family. We made shirts that said, celebrating number 21 today and every day, and we woke up in Nashville on his 21st birthday. We ironically had 21 people with us. And now my mom knows I like to have a good time. I went to Mizzou, and when all of my friends and I turned 21, we'd have a 21 shots party. We'd drink a stupid amount of alcohol like dumb college kids do, and my mom kept warning me, don't you dare try to get him drunk, yada yada, all that mom stuff. And when we got to the first bar on his 21st birthday at 11 a.m., I told my mom I had a plan. Of course, she didn't really like the sound of that, but I told her that my plan was to, rather than get Derek drunk on 21 shots, we were going to get Derek on 21 stages. And that's exactly what we did. It was the most incredible day. So before I go on about the rest of the day, I need to tell you a little bit more about Derek. Derek is a freaking superstar. Derek's never met a stranger. He makes friends everywhere he goes. If you were to ask him, he would probably tell you my job as his older sister is to make him famous. And he loves to sing and dance and does not have a shy bone in his body. So my idea to get him on 21 stages to celebrate his 21st birthday and by default his 21st chromosome seemed to be rock solid. And the day completely exceeded my expectations. We went to bar after bar, and Derek got happy birthday sung to him by up-and-coming Nashville artists. He sang on stage with a group of guys, and one of the singers came up to me afterward and said how amazing this experience was for him that he would never forget it because his little brother also has Down syndrome. We had a group of special education teachers come up to us in tears, just absolutely moved and so excited to be singing and dancing with Derek. Another girl came up to us crying because her best friend had just left and her sister had Down syndrome and she was so upset that she didn't get to see Derek that day. At one point, Derek was on stage playing the keyboards, and the guy who was supposed to be playing the keyboards was standing behind Derek waving his flag around. It was awesome. And at the same bar, a guy walked up to my mom and handed her something and said, "You guys are awesome, have a great day." And it wasn't until after he had left that she looked in her hand to see what it was. It was a $100 bill. Another guy worked for Special Olympics Tennessee and thought this was so amazing. I'm so happy to be celebrating with Derek too. There was girls asking for his autograph, letting him sign their arms. We would walk into a bar and people would get up and be so excited to see Derek again, and they'd say, "Oh my goodness, we saw you on stage 12. What number are you on now?" And we even had a group of people follow us into the last bar because they wanted to see Derek get on his 21st stage. It was truly one of the most incredible days. What I found to be so special about it, though, was to see Derek's infectious love for people and his ability to be nothing but the truest version of himself at all times brightened so many other people's day that day. This is where it gets really hard for me, so just bear with me. He brightened so many other people's day that day that had never met him and may never see him again. But I have no doubt they will never forget being able to celebrate with all of us on his 21st. So I know you're scared, and I know you're uncertain, but this little life that has been placed in your hands to love and to learn from and to grow with was given to you all because you are able. And it's okay to be scared. You're on the very first page of a brand new chapter. But that's how life goes. Change is scary, but change can be beautiful. And this little baby that has been put into your world to grow, is going to grow up and be someone like Derek, who left a positive mark on so many strangers' lives that day. I wanted to start out with this story because, of course, Derek has impacted a tremendous amount of people in our lives. Our friends, our family, our coworkers, our neighbors, the entire staff at our favorite Mexican restaurant. But that day in Nashville, he impacted a whole new group of humans so easily who were drawn to him and to us and wanted to embrace him for exactly who he is. So many people told us that day, meeting him today was something that they would never forget. And that's what makes that experience really impactful for me. And that is the beauty of being different. People all around our family embrace us every day for who we are and for who Derek is. And no, it's not always easy. But being in front of you all today, I didn't want to stand up here and tell you that things are going to get easier or you won't be scared forever. Because to be honest, I was only 3.5 when Derek was born. I wasn't scared. I've never been scared. But I've also never been in the shoes of a parent. So I'm not going to stand in front of you and tell you everything has always been butterflies and rainbows in our world, because we have bad days too. But what I want most for each of you to learn from our story today is to be positive and to take every day and every situation to see the best in the little humans that you all have the privilege of getting to know and to learn from and to grow with. Because I can, without a doubt in my heart, stand in front of you all today and tell you with certainty, Derek is the best thing that has ever happened to our family. And to a lot of our friends too. He is the glue that holds us together. He makes us laugh. He loves unconditionally. And he goes about life being unapologetically himself, which can be a plus and a minus sometimes because let me tell you, that boy is as stubborn as can be. But circling back to when I first called my mom to talk to her about what I wanted to share with you all today, the first thing she told me was that she wanted to know her life was not over. Well, her life was just beginning. Our lives were just beginning. And the last thing she said to me was, looking back, she wouldn't change the way Derek is for the world. Because if he wasn't him, we wouldn't be us. and not to boast, but we're a pretty freaking awesome family. I've always told people I don't know who my parents got advice from when Derek was a baby, but the best decision my parents ever made for Derek, my sister Katie, and I was to treat him the same. So to address some of the questions you might have about how it'll affect the lives of your other children, I have no idea when my parents told me Derek had Down syndrome. As far as I knew from day one. I may not have understood it then, but I knew. But it didn't change a thing. He was still my little brother. And growing up, we did all the same things the other kids did. My sister and I played sports, so did Derek. If I did something wrong, I got in trouble. I got my phone taken away. If Derek did something wrong, he got in trouble. He got his flag taken away. My sister and I have responsibilities around the house. So did Derek. He's a rock star at folding laundry. My mom loves that, I'll tell you. So as I've been pondering with you this week about how to tell you all about Derek, I wanted to be true to who I am and who I've become as his older sister and tell you some of the words that come to mind when I think of my brother. And share stories with you, the good, the bad, and the ugly, because for anyone who knows me, they know I love to tell a good Derek story. So, this is the fun part. The first word that comes to mind when I think of my brother is passionate. Derek's most current passion is the WWE. He also loves The Voice, but my favorite passion and the story that I'd like to share with you today is Derek's love and passionate love for Selena Gomez. So a few years back, Derek was in high school. He loved Selena Gomez. We prayed about Selena Gomez every night. God is good, God is great. Let us think of more food. Don't forget Selena Gomez. And Selena Gomez was coming into town in November. We bought Derek tickets back in May, and we were so excited to surprise him for Christmas with these tickets. And my mom kept telling me leading up to the concert, you gotta call somebody, write a letter, do something. We gotta try to get Derek backstage. So the concert was on a Monday, it was the Thursday night before, and I'd come home from the zoo, and she said, did you ever do anything? And I hadn't. So we decided to make a tweet. We put together a little picture, and my sister and I were kissing Derek on the cheek in one picture, and the caption read something along the lines of, Dear Selena, my brother Derek has Down syndrome. He's your biggest fan. He's watched you since your first episode on the Disney Channel, and we're coming to your concert in St. Louis on Monday, and it would mean the world to him to be able to get to meet you. And we put it out, and we added a cute little hashtag at the end, hashtag Do It For Derek, and it was amazing. The response was unbelievable. Within 24 hours, we had over 1,500 retweets. I had Mizzou football players retweeting it. We were sending it to all of the news stations, and it was out of the Shape-Its. So somebody from the Shape-Its messaged me on Twitter and asked me to follow them so that they could message me. And then we got a call. My mom and Derek and I were actually in the car headed to Chipotle. And we get a call, and they had backstage passes for us. So I come back on Monday, pick up Derek from school. Of course, in Derek's head, him and Selena were going out to dinner. They were going to maybe get some dessert, and then she was going to perform, and they were probably going to hang out afterwards. So we had this whole plan. And we get to the concert. We're in this massive ballroom, and we are the very last people in line. And I am starting to get nervous because if Selena's anything less than perfect, Derek was going to be heartbroken. And we even had people coming up to us saying, oh my goodness, you're the Twitter family. So we get up to the very front of the line. We were in line for probably 2 hours. And she's behind this little curtain. That's the only thing between the line and Selena and her people. And Derek gets up to the front, and it's his turn, and he takes one step in. Didn't even get in the room far enough for my mom and Katie to join us. And he's just staring at her in complete disbelief. He's never been speechless before in his entire life, and I don't know that he's ever been speechless again, but that moment he was speechless. And he looked at her, and she said, well, do I get a hug? And it was amazing. I was so relieved. She took a picture with him, and the picture's hysterical because you can actually see him looking at us, like, oh my goodness, this is really happening. So the only words he could get out was thank you and I love you, and he takes one step out from this curtain and falls to the ground and just yeah! And the top of his lungs, and then goes running through this ballroom, just jumping and spinning around, and it was amazing. So since then, he's also tried to do it for Derek again, which I told him doesn't work, but that's okay. The next thing that comes to mind when I think of Derek is the best hugs. So for Derek's 16th birthday, we had a surprise birthday party. We rented out a room at the Maryland Heights Center, and at the time we were working on personal space, and Derek loves to hug, so we were working on, you can ask if they would like a hug, but if you don't know someone, you need to offer them a handshake or a fist bump or a high five, all those good things. And my dad follows Derek around with a video camera as he's greeting everyone who's there for his surprise 16th birthday party. And he hugs every single person on the video until he gets to my cousin, gives my cousin a hug, and looks at the girl standing next to him, and he had never met my cousin's girlfriend at the time. And he looks at her, goes to give her hugs, and then takes a step back and sticks his hand out. And we're like, yes! That's it! The next thing that comes to mind when I think of Derek is stubborn. So one time, my mom was sick. She was in bed, not feeling well that night. Derek had a field trip the next day. So I was charged with the task of helping Derek make his lunch. Well, Derek had other intentions. Derek was going to buy his lunch. And I said, no, mom told me you have to make your lunch. And he said no, and I said yes. And we went back and forth and we argued, and it was starting to get louder, and it was starting to get uglier, and it was not going very well. And my dad's sitting at the kitchen table wanting absolutely nothing to do with this argument. And the front door opens, and I have two best friends that are identical twins, and my dad turns and looks at the front door and sees one of the twins and says, oh, well, there's a Heidegger. And all of a sudden, Derek's mood completely changes, and he starts singing and dancing, and he's going, it's going to be Sam, it's going to be Allison. It's going to be Sam, it's going to be Allison. And my friend Allison rounds the corner, he says, oh, it's Allison, Allison, Allison. And gives her a big hug, and I'm just standing there in pure disbelief, like, we were just going to Fist City, and how did this happen? So even in his most stubborn moments, he still makes us laugh. The next word that comes to mind when I think of Derek is awkward. Sometimes Derek says things that maybe aren't the most appropriate for the situation. Derek says what he thinks, and we have this thing called the Derek test, and if people can't pass the Derek test, then they probably don't get to hang out with us. But Derek says whatever Derek thinks, and there was one time when I was in high school, and I had been dating a guy, and we broke up, and like high schoolers do, we were getting back together, and he was back over at our house for the first time, and Derek walks into the kitchen and sees him sitting at the countertop and says, huh, Zach, what are you doing here? I thought you got dumped. So that went well. But yeah, Derek says what Derek means, so we roll with the punches. Another word that I think of when I think of Derek is fun. So back to Derek's passion, The Voice. Country singer Danielle Bradbury won The Voice, and Derek is in love with her. So last year, she was in town for Fair St. Louis, and I worked at iHeartRadio at the time, and I had front row VIP tickets, and my friends and I went and picked up Derek, and I know you guys said with the moving slow, that's a thing that will exist forever. And we parked rather far away from the arch and had to walk. Luckily, my friend is smart and said, why don't you drop me and Derek off? And that was a good idea. So I dropped the two of them off, I parked the car, and we're walking in. And the second we turn the corner and you can see the arch, Derek realizes that Danielle Bradbury is already on stage. And this boy shoots off like a rocket and takes off running. I've never seen him move so fast. I instantly pull out my phone to record it because I couldn't even believe how fast he was moving. And he ran so quickly up to the stage that by the time he got there, my friend and I were still so far behind him, he's looking around like confused, where did everybody go? And we finally get up there, we go in VIP, Derek buys himself a beard, we go to the front, and he is singing and dancing, and Danielle Bradbury's pointing at him, and they're having a great time, and it was just amazing. Every single person in VIP came up to us, and we're so happy to be there singing and dancing with Derek because he was just had an infectious, electrifying joy of being there. It was awesome. And the last thing that comes to mind is I've got a little Spanish story too, is laughter. And so same twin friends, the three of us, we decided we're gonna play hooky for a day and took Derek to the zoo. And Derek decided he wanted Chinese food for lunch. So we go to the Chinese restaurant, and Derek's trying to order, and he makes his order difficult and doesn't order something on the menu. And I'm going back and forth with this gal, trying to tell her what we want, and she's having a hard time communicating with us, and we're having a hard time communicating with her. And she finally walks away, and Derek says, "Well, Jenna, you know why it was so difficult to talk to her, right?" And I said, "I don't know, Derek, why was it so hard?" And he says, "Well, it's because she speaks Spanish."
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, well, and I try to go back and forth with them, but you know, we're at a Chinese restaurant. When we go to Casa Juarez, they speak Spanish, but when we're at the Chinese restaurant, she probably speaks Chinese. And I'm trying to reason with him, he's not having it. And the gal comes back over and sets his soup down in front of him, and with the utmost confidence, he smiles and looks up at her and says, "De nada." And it took a second for my friend and I to realize what he said, and we completely started belly laughing. It was hysterical. And after about 5 minutes of the purest belly laughter, we realized he didn't even say thank you. He said, "You're welcome." But it was awesome. And so I really hope, after hearing all of these things that I've had to share with you today, if you could take anything away from it, I hope that you're excited. You should be excited to get to watch your beautiful babies grow into compassionate, genuine, stubborn, warm, loving, kind, incredible humans. And no, it won't always be an easy road, but I know I will not be the only person to tell you this. It will be worth it every step of the way. Thank you.